So I'm Bill Waller, co-chair of the Rockport Cultural Council, and we got this opportunity to put on this Rockport Cultural Showcase, which is going to go all day and feature a lot of great folk who have received some funding from a small grants program that the Rockport Cultural Council administers. And this is all courtesy of the Massachusetts Cultural Council, which has many opportunities for funding cultural programming. And they had this one Festivals and Projects program, which I applied to and was able to win. And I should say they have many other programs worth checking out. And so now I'm going to move on to Bob Whalen, who is going to regale us on what the Rockport Cultural Council is and what it does. Thank you, Bob.
Very well. I can't guarantee I'll regale, but the Cultural Council is a committee of the town of Rockport, so it's your council. It's responsible for allocating grants that we get from the Massachusetts Cultural Council. It is sometimes small amounts of money that go to folks, but it's a way that we can show our support and help you out. You can read the details. So if you want to be involved, just contact us and we'll let you know how to be involved on the council. So there are members here today. You've already seen Bill. You've now unfortunately already seen me, Bob Whalen, Christine Downing, Sophia Gray, I don't know who else is here. Heidi?
No.
No, we're all set.
Laura?
Oh, Laura, you were hiding next to him. So we're folks who are involved, want to spread culture, make it available as part of your everyday life. And please help us do that, okay?
All right. Thank you, Bob.
Laura, you're next.
I'm Laura Kozacek and co-chair of Rockport Cultural Council, and I would just take this moment to direct you to a couple useful ideas about how to place an application with us. We're very open to anybody applying. We have a small amount of funds, so we have to divvy that up, which we do, and we also are good at helping people find ways to get matching funds if that's helpful. We have a number of sort of usual institutions that you'll be hearing from today that we do try to support. We tend to look to the Rockport community as our main constituents here that we're trying to support, and we're available to help in the whole process. We like to get applications which will become available. I believe it's in October that that those become available, and the process opens through the Mass Cultural Council, and then people make their applications. We do ask that you pass them by us earlier. We can help direct people to strengthening aspects of their application. That's, I think, can make the journey much easier and makes for stronger programs. Our main objective is to be able to finance or assist in the financing of programmings that can actually be done. and will be successful and will be a contributor to Cape Ann and Rockport community in particular. We also tend to look at the age of those who will be served. Many of our programs serve all ages, and we do sometimes like to see a plethora of those that are serving youth. So that has kind of unofficially been a concentration of ours. We
are looking at projects in the performing arts, visual arts, humanities, and interpretive sciences. So those are some of our favorite key points for our particular committee, council, I should say. Other communities do other things, so sometimes it's useful for performers or presenters in their projects to look to support from other communities as well. But those are the places where we're looking. We're trying not to favor just visual arts, which can be sort of a usual suspect, and or music events, although those are definitely things we do also support, but we do look to have kind of more of a spectrum of types of programming that we do in all different sorts and venues that we support. We also take chances. Maybe Chris will tell you something about that. We generally we do have some usual suspects that we know are tried and true and do various functions for our community, and we like to continue to support them, but we also like to see something brand new that we don't know about. And we try to nurture that application until it's ready for submission and we feel strongly that it can be supported. So that's about it. Our grants are typically small. They're usually in the $300 to $700 range. And we will help you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, I'm here to talk about, this is basically, my section of this is, it's a mini grants workshop. So most of you here are familiar with writing these. I'm going to do it anyway. Our grant cycle is annual. We get usually, not always, it opens up, I'll say this again, around September 15th. And then the deadline is October 15th. So you have about a month. But you can think about it all year, and you can always call us anytime you want to talk about a proposal. I'm going to say this again. We like being able to see your applications in a draft form a couple of weeks before the deadline. If there are any questions, that's your chance to flesh those out. So if one of us, if you read it and then say, well, what's your outreach, which is really a key for us. If you're from a community outside of Rockport, we really want to know that you're reaching Rockport residents with your program, so that your publicity is really important, your mailing list and posters, etc. All right, so basically, we get applications that don't answer some basic questions. They're really simple. It's the kind of thing for journalists, which is who's doing it, what is it that they're doing or you're doing, when is it going to happen, and where is it? So, and then the amount that you're requesting. So just be sure you cover those things. Actually, a few years ago, when I got started on this, the application, where am I doing something? Oops.
Hit this part.
I did, sorry. Right. They didn't have it. What you'll find in general in when you're raising money is that applications from foundations don't necessarily ask you that. So if you actually put this framework in and answer those questions for yourself, then you can plug that into any application form that you encounter. But it really clarifies most of the questions that we might have. And I just have a couple of other points. Okay, that's the draft proposal. It's not a requirement, but we recommend it. Let's see. Oh, programs that serve Rockport are given priority. Applicants really need to show how they're doing that, how they're reaching Rockport residents. I'd like to emphasize this. We're fortunate here to have sunshine laws where meetings are open to the public. So it's really one of the best ways to listening to people review your application and review other applications is one of the best ways to learn how to write these things. So I encourage you to, you don't have to stay through the whole 8 hours or 5 hours, whatever it takes for us once a year. But just to check in on it and take a look at it. And then I think that's about it. Oh yes. This may seem like a lot of effort for some really small amount of money. We only have like $5,000 to give, but on the other hand, what we have to give is a kind of teaching process to get you through the gate, so that if you can answer these questions and write a really clear proposal, you have that skill to take that to raise money from any other foundation. So it may seem labor intensive, but that's one of the reasons for us to do this for such a small amount of money. We do, once you get a grant from one organization, then people will notice that and it can break loose more money for you. So we encourage it, even though it's a small amount, that it can help. All right, I think that's about it. Oh yeah, okay. If you're, we're considering. At the end of the day, we're going to be talking about where will we go? What else can we do here besides this little grants program? So this is the chance to bring your thoughts and dreams into this, and to see if we can actually expand this operation. There's some really interesting things that the Medford Arts Council does and the Cambridge Arts Council does, and they included in this greater umbrella, they have this little Mass Cultural, it's the Regrant Fund, but they do lots of other things, and we'd like to, we're interested in looking at that. So we hope that if you can come at the end of the day, that you'll throw in your 2 cents, and if you can't stay that long, then we hope that we'll hear from you. So that's it. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're a little early, so I think it would be good if there were any questions about the Rockport Cultural Council, the granting process. This would be a good time to ask them. Yes, Emily.
I have a question. I think it was Laura referred to finding matching funds for these grants. Could you tell me a little bit about that process?
There is no requirement for matching funds,
Yeah.
but you may have a budget in your proposal that significantly exceeds what would be a reasonable ask to the Rockport Cultural Council. But then, that's just being honest. And yes, Christine.
If this helps, one of the things that we can do is help you find resources for grants research. So, and most or many foundations, and certainly public money, will require matching funds. But this is a little pile of money where you don't have to match it. And that's another thing that makes this easier. It's an easier place to start.
Thank
Does that
you.
help?
Yes, very much.
So if you're looking for there's a grants research library here in Massachusetts, and it actually charges for access, but there's free access through an organization that's in Danvers, and we can help you find that one.
Great. Thank you.
Yes,
I
Rebecca.
was just wondering about the town's guidelines for the council, like how many people are on it, how long your terms are. I mean, what do you have some sort of, policies and procedures around that?
We can get Christine on this
Oh,
one.
yeah. Sure. Okay, so there are the Mass Cultural Council gives us 2 3-year terms, and then we have to rotate off. So this creates a kind of continuity program. Since we're interested in growing this, we're losing key people who are actually organizers. So that's why we're trying to figure out how else can we do this, because we like what's happening, and we are going off and we can't be involved administratively. So we're looking for alternatives here. But so Laura and Bill and I are all rotating off, and we're looking for. I think I found a way to actually to stay involved so that we can. It's not going to be so hard administratively to figure out how to, get all the paperwork in right. But then we can come back on after a year. We can apply to come back on again. Does that answer your
Yeah,
question?
so it's
How
not
many
the
people are on the committee?
But I beg your pardon?
How many people are actually on the committee?
We have we started with 5. We're now at 8, and we can have as many as 22.
Wow.
And there's a kind of wrinkle in this. So I was hoping we could be advisors for a year, but that I have to still figure out with the town. Mass Cultural Council says special advisor is fine with them. That's a typical thing they do. The town actually doesn't do that until we have a full complement of 22 members, which for our little $5,000 seems like it's going to reach too deeply into the pool. So anyway, all right.
That's
Is that
great.
your question?
Yeah.
This
thank you.
this affects all of the local cultural councils across the board. Okay.
But is it different in terms of like Rockport? You said requires certain things. So the towns and cities have their own oversight.
At the town, there probably is a difference from town to town. Yeah, in some ways, but and so that this is just a wrinkle I have to figure out.
Yeah.
One note, and I'll get to you, Jane. One thing is that Gloucester has its cultural council. I'm not sure about Manchester or Essex or Ipswich, but oftentimes people will apply to multiple cultural councils for the same project. But there's a little beware. You got to make sure that for each of those cultural councils, you're serving those communities, involving those communities. We do get these proposals from east, nowhere, where it sounds like they were just trying to hit every cultural council in Massachusetts to make sure their project would run, but there was no explicit engagement with the Rockport community. So that's something to consider. Jenny.
Thank you, and I really agree that a small amount of money can make a big impact, and being associated with Rockport Cultural Council and Mass Cultural Council can really make a big difference for other funders. I'm kind of curious also about, is there a way that any of us in Rockport residents can help to increase the pool of money from 5,000 to 10, 20? I don't know how it's allocated in Massachusetts, but if there's an advocacy role for those of us, you as grantees, I feel like I would be willing to be involved in that.
Thank you. Anyone else? We will find you. I'll tell you.
I mean, is it
Yeah,
allocated
thanks.
based on population or how?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get about 5,500 a year,
Mm.
but other municipalities get significantly more
Mhm.
based on. It seems like it's based on their population.
I have one idea there. I know that I believe that it would be possible for the town through the select board to allocate some funds, and they do have discretionary funds that they do already give out to various groups and organizations. But the Cultural Council has not been one of those. But even as you can see, a small amount from the community to also feed into that pool that is coming to the community from the state, as it were, which is the amount that is allocated based on our population size. That little bit that could enhance could fund 2 or 3 more projects that we have in front of us. And just, I don't know if we all remember how many we had this year, but I think it was on the lines of 27 or 28 applications. And what we actually are able to support this year was 10, I believe. So that just gives you an idea of the distillation that has to occur. And certainly with more robust funds, a lot more would be possible.
Excellent. Oh, Christine.
Yeah, there's a friend who's on the cultural council in Brookline, and I looked at their budget and I said, how did you get that? And she said, oh, we went to the town and they matched our amount from the Mass Cultural Council to the network as a help, and that one's on the list. Yeah, to try and get that. Thank you.
Raising Our Voices, a summer reading performance with Davis Bates and the Rockport Public Library. Maybe you could start with introductions.
I could do an introduction.
You want the microphone?
Hi everyone, thanks for coming out this morning to support the arts in Rockport. I'm Emily Souza, Youth Services Librarian here at Rockport Library, and we're going to start our day with a very special performance by our friend, the storyteller and musician Davis Bates. Now Davis came here last summer as part of our annual summer reading celebration, where we promote reading all summer with fun programs for kids and families. Our theme last year was Raising Our Voices, which was the title of this performance. And Davis performed at Millbrook Meadow. It was a beautiful day, enjoyed by several generations in the audience. A highlight for me was when Davis told a story about a monarch butterfly that fell in love with the moon, and I saw a butterfly floating around Millbrook Meadow that might have been hatched in this very library, because we do that every summer. So I just want to thank the Cultural Council for supporting that special event, and here's Davis.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, that was really fun. The theme that was Raising Our Voices, I started off as a storyteller 45 years ago. I know I don't look that old, but I did. And I used to do like 3/4 stories and 1/4 songs. And over the years, it got to be half and half. And then that summer with the theme, it got to be like 3/4 songs. But I am going to start with a little story that I often start with about my first ice cream cone. Because one of the ways to engage kids is by talking about when you were a kid. And I do not remember this story at all, but my mom did. We were on our way to get ice cream, and I was in the back seat, and my mom started laughing. You know, ice cream cones. Sometimes after dinner, my mom would say, especially in the summer, hey, let's go get ice cream. And I'll say, yeah. And my mom started laughing in the front seat, and I had learned that if my mom started laughing, it was a good idea to ask her why, because there's usually a story. So of course I said, Mom, why are you laughing? And she said, oh, I'm just remembering your first ice cream cone. And I said, what about it? So it happened when I was 3 months old. So I do not remember this at all, but my mom did. So she told the story, and now I know the story. We were on our way to visit my grandparents. I was the only kid at that point, because I'm the oldest kid. And I was sitting in my mom's lap in the front seat, because this was 1955, before car seats, before seat belts. People did not know this was not okay. My mom was actually kind of like my car seat. You know, she got me up high enough to see out. She was also my seat belt. I found this out when I was in the back seat after my younger brothers and my sister were born. They would be sitting in her lap. All my dad had to do was think about putting on the brake, and my mom's left arm would come around the kid in her lap, and her right arm would come up to the dashboard. So she was kind of like a seatbelt. We hadn't got to my grandparents yet. It was a hot day. The car had no air conditioning, and there was a sign on the side of the road that said ice cream. And my mom went like this to my dad. That's how she got his attention sometimes. He said, what? She said, ice cream. He said, yum. My mom said yum, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't old enough. And they pulled in the parking lot. They got out. I got out with them because I didn't have much choice. They walked over to the stand. They got a couple ice cream cones. My mom's walking back to the car, carrying me in this arm, licking her ice cream cone. And she said, I was watching her and doing this. So she turned to my dad and said, "You think he's old enough to have some?" And my dad said, "Sure." That's what a lot of dads say when you ask them a question like that. It doesn't have to even involve the thought process. "Sure, it's okay with me, I don't care." So she held out the cone and she said, "I stuck my tongue out. And for some reason, when I stuck my tongue out, my eyes closed. It was like there was a string going from my tongue to my eyes. I got a little bit of my tongue into the ice cream, pulled my tongue back in my mouth, and my mom said my face did this. I loved it. I thought it was the best thing I had ever tasted in 3 months of existence. It was my first sugar. And so I wanted it. I wanted it all in my mouth at the same time. Before my mom could stop me, I grabbed the cone and I pulled it towards my mouth. But I was so excited, I forgot to open up my mouth. And the whole cone just went like this, smoosh, right in my face. So they had to walk back to the stand, throw away the smushed cone, get a bunch of napkins, wipe off my face, and buy another cone. And my mom held me in her lap, and my dad fed me with one of those little wooden spoons. You know those, right? Yeah. That's the story of my first ice cream cone. I don't remember this at all, but my mom did. You know, and we all have stories like that. Ones that we can tell about people that they don't remember, and they got to trust us. Ones that were told about us. I was driving one time to a gig at a senior center in April, and they wanted me to do an April showers program. Now, I'm as flexible as the next person, but I did not have a lot of rain songs. I had a couple rain stories, and I'm driving there, and it happened to be raining, you know, so my windshield wipers are going, and it was raining hard. And suddenly, this song my mom used to sing popped into my head. I totally forgot about it. You know how it is, right? Where things that have been in the cobwebs in the back of your brain, something will happen to loosen up the cobwebs, and all of a sudden, boom, it's there. Well, this is the song. I'm going to teach it to you in case you don't know it. Even if you do, I'm going to teach it to you. It goes like this. If all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops. Try that part. Ready? Here we go. If all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops. Good. The next line goes, oh, what a rain that would be. Try it. Oh, what a rain that would be. Good. And then the next line is, I'd stand outside with my mouth open wide. Try that. I'd stand outside with my mouth open wide. Now, this is where we tend to lose people, especially adults. But nobody's going to see you do this. I'll prove it to you. Look straight up at the ceiling. Everybody look up. Can you see anybody? No, that means they can't see you. I learned this playing hide and seek when I was a kid. We lived in a big neighborhood, Sudbury, Massachusetts. There were about 20 kids in the neighborhood. We'd all get together to play hide and seek at the Blanchette's house because they had 8 kids. It wasn't fair to move them anywhere else. Plus, they had a lot of places to hide. And the way it worked is that if you were under 4, you hid with somebody who was over 12, right? So when you're caught, the big kid would pick you up and run like heck to try and get back before the person who was it, right? And be to safety. And then you over 4, you hid by yourself. And you had to be able to count to 100 to be it, right? So I was it. I could count to 100. This is where I learned to count to 100 really fast. You know, it was like, when I said, 100, you know, like that. And I got to the end. I said, ready, here I come. Took my hands off my eyes and looked. And there was this girl standing 10 feet away from me. She had just turned 4 the week before. She was standing there with her hands over her eyes like this. And I looked at her and I said, I can see you. She said, no, you can't. I said, yeah, I can see you. You're standing there with your hands over your eyes. No, you can't see me at all. Why can't I see you? I can't see you, so you can't see me. So I said, okay. And I went to look for people who I could see. Do you know, she stood there for 3 hours with her hands over her eyes. Nobody found her. We were all nice kids. So nobody's going to see you do this. Look straight up in the air, open your mouth really wide, stick out your tongue and go, ah, 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 ah. Don't be shy. Ready? Here we go. And then the last line you already know. If all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops, oh, what a rain that would be. Now we're going to sing it all the way through. Great, here we go. If all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops, oh, what a rain that would be. I'd stand outside with my mouth open wide. If all the raindrops were lemon drops and gumdrops, oh, what a rain that would be. Thanks for singing. Thank you. Thanks. And you know, my mom passed away last summer at 91 years old. And for the last couple years of, well, 5 years of her life, she lived with my sister. And they were in central Massachusetts. I'm way in western Massachusetts. So I'd have gigs in eastern Massachusetts, and I'd stop by on the way home because, you know, I like my mom. And it was really fun to be able to say to her, hey, Mom, I told that ice cream story today, you know? And she would just start laughing, you know? And she had early onset dementia. And sometimes the best way to get a story from her was not to ask her for a story. It was to tell her a story. Say, Mom, I remember that time when this happened, right? And then all of a sudden something would pop up in her head. It may not have anything to do with what I said, but the story would come. Now, when I was a kid growing up, my bedtime until I was in 3rd grade was 7:30. That's when we were supposed to be in bed. Teeth brush, bath every other night, pajamas, of course. But then my mom and dad would read to us. Some books we had in the family, the Wizard of Oz books, the Winnie the Pooh books, or books we got out of the Goodnow Library. I love libraries. You guys have great jobs because you help us find books, which is so cool. And then the lights would go out, and my mom or dad would sing to us for up to a half an hour. So my real go to sleep time was 7:30. This was one of my favorite songs at bedtime. We had a tradition of rowdy bedtime songs when I was a kid. And then the songs would kind of get slower and slower. Hopefully you'd fall asleep. I love this song the first 1,000 times I heard it. Next couple of thousand, it was okay. And then I grew up. I hardly ever sang it at all because I was looking for new songs. And then I learned how to play these. Any of you have these at home? If you don't, you should get some. They come in really handy for a bunch of different stuff. I'm going to put these down here. I'm going to show you how to play music with spoons. Now, there are YouTube videos on this. You don't have to take notes. Okay, there's going to be no test afterwards. You take a flat handle spoon, you put it between your thumb and your first finger. The next spoon goes between your first and second finger. See how they form a long V? You put the point of that V in the palm of your hand like this. Close your fist around it. And then tap on your knee. Or your hand. You get different sounds depending on what part of your body you tap them on. And you can put your hand up above your knee, go back and forth. Run them across your fingers. Sort of the Lone Ranger effect, which dates me. Then you can combine the different movements. And you get different sounds. Now, different spoons have different sounds. These are amazing. They're made out of plastic, but they're corn oil, so they're compostable. Plus, molecules of corn are different than molecules of petroleum, so they have a different sound. Ask somebody who knows about science about it more than I do. I was an art major. You can take these spoons. And you can get a different sound. Now, plastic spoons don't last as long as metal spoons. Like some people, they get fatigued. And like some people who get fatigued, they crack. And a piece flies off, but it's no big deal. You got to get another pair of plastic spoons. These, if you get frustrated when you're learning how to play the spoons, my biggest piece of advice for you is to stop. I've learned as I'm getting older, sometimes if I'm learning something and I'm really frustrated, it's a really good idea to take a break and go away and come back later. Or you can go to a music store. Get a pair of spoons like these.
already stuck into a handle. They have a really nice sound. You know, it's an interesting thing. Different rooms, these spoons sound differently. You hear that echo? Kind of cool. I haven't had that in a few places. Oh, the song. I was going to do a song, right? You probably know this song. Besides being sung by my dad at bedtime, it would also sung by African American, Irish American, Chinese American, Japanese American, Italian American, Polish American, a whole bunch of other American railroad workers. They had these big 16-pound sledgehammers, the spikes to hold the tracks together. They work in the hot sun up to 12 hours. And the first part of the song, they might sing as they work. They go, I've been working on the rail. You know how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how fast they sang because they didn't want to get tired. My dad at bedtime sang it faster because he wanted us to get tired. So we're going to sing it the speed my dad sang it. I'll play the spoons. You know how it goes. Ready? Here we go. I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. Can't you hear the whistle blowing? Rise up so early in the morning. Can't you hear the captain shouting? Dinah, blow your horn. Should we go a little faster? I think so. Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Let's whisper. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Oh, oh, oh. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Thank you. Strumming on the old banjo and singing dee-fi, fiddly-I-o, dee-fi, fiddly-I, oh, 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 dee-fi, fiddly-I-o. Strumming on the old banjo. That's it. Thank you for listening. I brought another musical instrument here. These have been in my family for 150 years. My grandfather used to take my grandmother on dates in a horse and buggy in the wintertime. They had two buggies in the family. My great-grandfather was sheriff of Chittenden County. He was 6'5" and weighed 320 pounds. That was the one-person buggy, was the one he used to get to the sheriff's department. They had one that was bigger. You'd fit more people in, but my grandfather would take my grandmother in that buggy because they were both skinny and they could squish, which when you were in high school in the early 1900s, you had few excuses to do that, and that the buggy was too small was a great excuse. So they'd squish together and he'd drive the buggy. You can guess what song I sing with these, right? Jingle Bells? Yeah, that was a good guess. I'm not going to sing it though, because I don't have time. But I wanted to show these because well, you know, I got 15 more minutes and I got other things I want to get to. All I have to do is say Jingle Bells and you guys have already sung half of it in your head, right? Right? So, but this is a really cool instrument that I wanted to show you too. This one I'm going to sing a song with. I promise I won't do that again. No, wait, I shouldn't promise that. I promise I won't do that more than once after this. This instrument right here, this is a dog.
What?
Yeah, it's a dog. Yeah, it's called a lumberjack. Originally, they were made in the shape of people. In this country, they made them in the shape of dogs, cows, cats. Because they have 4 legs, they make more noise. Right now, he's sleeping. You know, some people ask me if he's a real dog. I always say yes because I don't want to hurt his feelings. And besides, he is a real dog. He's a real wooden dog. They're cheaper. No vet bills. I didn't bring him here so you could see him sleep. I know his eyes are wide open. It's just the way wooden dogs sleep. We need to wake him up. Now, some people like being woken up by really loud noises. Alarm clocks, people yelling in the room. Hey, you're going to be... He does not like that at all. He likes being woken up really gently. So on the count of 3, we're going to whisper his name and say, please wake up. You know what whispering's like, right? Okay, ready, here we go.
What's his name?
1. What?
What's his name?
Oh, his name. I didn't tell you his name. I forget things. His name. I should spell it for you. I'm really bad at spelling, so I like to practice as often as possible. The first letter is B, because the first letter of my last name is B. B. I always remember the second letter as I, so that's B-I. N, we're not at the end, so that's N. What? Bingo! You're right. Cool. I don't have to spell the rest of it. I get out of it all the time. Okay, so on the count of 3, we're going to whisper, bingo, please wake up. See, if I do it by myself, it doesn't work at all. I need help for a lot of things. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Bingo, please wake up. Cool. He's awake. Stay. Now, all we need is a song for a dog named Bingo to dance to. Get any ideas? Bingo. Bingo! Everybody loves songs about that. And that's the one that goes, there was a librarian had a book. No, that's not how it goes. There was a parent had a kid. No, it's a parent I'm having a problem. There was a something, though. There was a dog. There was a dog who had a kid. No. What? What? There was a what? The farmer. That's it. I heard it from in the back. There was a farmer had a dog. How many of you know it? Raise your hands. You should sing it with me, otherwise I'll get lost. Oh, we've ever done it that way where the first time through you spell its whole name, B-I-N-G-O. The next time, instead of singing it, you clap. And then 2 claps, then 3, then 4, then 5. We're going to do it that way, except we're going to skip the middle part because, again, I don't have enough time. But we're going to do spelling his name the first time and then clapping all the letters. Clap, 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 instead of singing the letters. That way he'll get excited, do some fancy dancing, I promise. Bingo. You got to get on the board to dance. Takes him a while to get situated. It's kind of a prima donna, actually. Does he look ready?
Yeah.
Either that or he's doing yoga. He doesn't really mean enough with the bad jokes. Ready? Here we go. You'll hear him dance on the board. There was a farmer had a dog. Bingo was his name. B-I-N-G-O, 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 and Bingo was his name. Good, take a break. Now this time through, we'll clap all the way through. I'll sing the words clap because my hands are kind of occupied, but you guys use your hands. Here we go. There was a farmer had a dog. Bingo was his name. Oh, clap, 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 clap. Bingo was his name. Oh. Whoa, man. You got really excited. Yeah, and he likes to take a bow afterwards. And he usually falls asleep. I had to get him up really early to get here. It's like a 2-hour and 15-minute drive from Western Massachusetts, so he's tired. He could use a nap. You know, you could not get me to take a nap when I was a kid. My mom would send me up with my dad on Saturday morning with a book we got out of the library. My dad would read to me for 20 minutes, and then my dad would fall asleep. And I would come downstairs. But at least my mom got 20 minutes, right? And then you know what I discovered in high school? Naps are good. They make high school kids get up earlier than elementary school kids who are already up. It makes no sense at all. I caught the bus at 6:30 in the morning. My brain was half awake. I would come home, I was tired. I said, Mom, I can't do my homework, I'm too tired. She'd say, take a nap, I'll wake you up in 20 minutes. So I did. I've not stopped taking naps since. He's really good at taking naps. I gotta put him over here. If I put him on the floor, he's gonna fall over and wake up, and then the ride home will just be horrible. Stay, stay, stay. Okay. This is a lullaby my dad sang me that I forgot about. Again, like that rain song. And I was looking for Irish songs. Nowadays, you can go online, you type in Irish folk songs, and these websites will come up with titles. And if you think you know a title, you click on it, the words come up. And if you don't know the words, you can learn them, and then you go to YouTube, you find somebody singing it. You can learn all sorts of songs in easier ways than you used to be able to. I was looking and I saw this title. I said, oh, that looks familiar. I clicked on it. The words came up. I had never sung this song in my life. I did not have to learn the tune. I did not have to learn the words. except the last verse, which you'll figure out why later. Because my dad had sung it as a bedtime song, all except the last verse. I bet you know it. It goes like this. In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, it was there that I first met sweet Molly Malone. She wheeled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. And the chorus goes, you ready? Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Now, some of you, I could tell, know it. Some of you weren't singing. Maybe you'd never heard it before, but now you've heard it once. So you can sing it with us. Don't worry about getting the notes right. This is folk music. There's no such thing as a wrong note. Ready? Here we go. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. She was a fishmonger, and sure 'twas no wonder, 'cause so were her mother and father before. They wheeled their wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Here we go. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Now here's the verse I had to learn. She died of a fever, and no one could save her, and that was the end of my Molly Malone. Now her ghost wheels the barrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Last time. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Nice singing. Now, we need to make sure Bingo's asleep before I tell you the last story. I got 6 minutes, but I'm not going to take all of them because there's somebody after me who needs to set up, and I need to take down. So this is what you do when you do these things. Now, I know he sleeps with his eyes wide open, and it's hard to tell if he's asleep. On the count of 3, we're going to yell Bingo's name really loud. Even though we're in a library, they let me do these kind of things. And if he doesn't blink, then we'll know he's sleeping like a log. You ready? Here we go. Because he used to be one. Ready? 1. Wait. What's Bingo's name?
Bingo?
Yeah, thank you. Good thing you're here. 1, 2, 3.
Bingo!
No blink. He's asleep. Cool. I'm going to put him over here.
What's he sleeping?
Actually, he wants to sleep on his side. I think the table's tilted. Yeah, I know he would never blink because it's painted on. Oh, I got just enough time for one quick story. This is a picture of my mom taken in high school, which I love wearing. You know, I have been present when my grandmother passed away, my grandfather passed away, my mom passed away, my dad passed away. But every time I tell a story, they're here, which is kind of cool. And you guys have things like that too. You know, I've got this story about my grandfather. It's really short. My grandfather, my mom's dad, this is his wedding ring. He wore it for 62 years. He's the one who taught me how to spit watermelon seeds. This is something parents often neglect to teach their children for a number of different reasons. But then grandparents come along. I was 3 years old. I was eating watermelon. The first time I remember, I probably had it before then, but this is the first time I remember. And this was back when watermelon had seeds. Right. Yeah. Nowadays, you get a watermelon at the store. Often it's got these little white things in them that are dreaming of becoming seeds, but they never will. The first bite I took of this little triangle of watermelon, it was half seeds. Big honker seeds. So I was moving the seeds to one side of my mouth, moving the watermelon to the other side of my mouth, trying to get the watermelon over here so I could swallow it without swallowing the seeds. Because some neighbor kid had told me that if you swallowed a watermelon seed, it would grow into a watermelon in your stomach. Later I learned that was not true, but I hadn't learned that yet, so I was trying to avoid it. I finally got the watermelon, I swallowed it, I spit out the seeds on the plate, and my grandfather looked down at me and said, you know, you can spit those up in the air. And I looked at him and I said, really? He said, yeah, I'll show you how. Immediately my mom and my grandmother got up from the table, went out in the kitchen. They knew what was going to happen. You don't actually spit them, you propel them with air, you get it. seed on the end of your tongue, you go, and it blows it out. We got so good at it, we were getting seeds stuck on the ceiling. It was like a constellation of watermelon seeds. It was so much fun. I probably ate 3 more pieces of watermelon than I would have if we weren't getting these seeds stuck on the ceiling. And then if I said, Grandpa, I'm so full, I can't eat any more watermelon. Can I be excused? He said, wait a minute. We got to clean up after ourselves, or your grandmother's going to kill me. I said, I can't reach that high. He said, here. He handed me a paper cup. I said, I still can't reach that high. I'll help you. He grabbed me around the waist, picked me up, and I started picking the watermelon seeds off the ceiling because I could reach. And he said, oh, this is great. I was having fun. Clink, clink, clink. I get them all off. I said, I'm done, Gramp. He put me down. I put the cup on the table. And I said, thanks. I ran out to play. I am 69 years old. I will never forget being lifted up in the air by my grandfather. And you guys have stories like that too. You tell them, people will tell them about, they'll be with you the whole time. So I hope you tell your favorite story to somebody else. And I really want to thank the Rockport Cultural Council for everything they do in this town. It's a great program. They don't have it anywhere else in the country. So it's great that volunteers like you make it work. Thank you.
This is the biggest project of them all. This is a great example of our tiny funding going into a much bigger pool, with a much bigger budget, which they managed to raise. So this is Carol McNair is going to talk about the Rockport New Year's Eve happenings. Guess when that happens?
Well, tell me, when does it happen? New Year's Eve. How many more days till New Year's Eve? Anybody know?
No idea.
255. On our committee, we count down every day because this is such a fantastic celebration. How many of you have been to Rockport New Year's Eve? Okay. It's a great night. It's a celebration of the arts in Gloucester. And it is a lot of music, a lot of venues, but there are other things as well. We have literary, we've got visual, we celebrate all the arts on New Year's Eve. It's a family-friendly event, and the kids do love it. This past year, as a matter of fact, we started off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon instead of starting at 6. So the young ones could come. The big event this year was decorating parasols, little umbrellas. They were lit up inside and the streamers, and they drew on them. Amazing. But of course, we also have face painters, magicians. I like the magicians as much as the kids do. Jugglers. All kinds of entertainment for the young people. It's really good in a lot of ways. I remember when my children were young, it was like, what was I going to do on New Year's Eve? Back in the day, New Year's Eve was very important. The suits, the long dresses, all that. But how are you going to go out on New Year's Eve without spending a lot of money on babysitting? Now you bring the kids with you. And then you tire them out and go home and you get to relax where you should be at midnight, relaxing, your day's done. If you are not in that situation and you are coming out to Rockport New Year's Eve, we do end the evening with a ball drop. Now, not quite like New York, but it's pretty cool. And the crowds go onto Main Street, and there's a big celebration while the ball drops. So this is pretty much how the night works. Buttons. To participate or attend the different venues, you need to buy a button. Very inexpensive, but that helps our committee to pay a lot of vendors. I will talk about that in just 1 second. So when you come to Rockport New Year's Eve, we have events at the Shaylin Loop. We have events at the churches. We have events at the town hall. It's this big yet small community, all within walking distance. And our committee sets up all the different venues. So you can go with your button to hear your favorite kind of music. It can be rock and roll. It could be the blues. It could be country. It could be a cappella, because Rockport New Year's Eve offers it all in one place. It's also nice if you want to split up where you're going and where your family's going. I'm going to play a quick video. We had some technical difficulties.
Marching in, when the saints go marching in. Yes, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. Now when the saints go marching by.
Okay, so all of these events are scheduled within an hour time frame. So you can decide if you want to see, you look at the expansive venues and different types of music and poetry and everything going on. So you can spend 45 minutes there. And so it's an hour, it's scheduled on the hour, but the events are only 45 minutes because we have to change over that site. So the musicians work, I was going to say pretty hard, but very hard to help us put all this together. Okay, let me just, so these buttons, I'll go back to those. The arts start with these buttons because Rockport New Year's Eve works with the art teacher at Rockport Elementary. And students are the ones who submit the designs. And then, once it's narrowed down to 6, or about 6, the town gets to vote on which one they like the most. So it's a really cool project for the young people to participate in. Again, so changes every year. And how do we make changes we need input, right? So we're all a volunteer organization. We count on our volunteers. We also count on our donors and our grants. Thank you, Rockport. for your grant. So the other side of this, I want you all to be able to come and enjoy and see your friends in the community and enjoy your family and don't have to worry about getting dressed up or whatever. You just come and have fun. But we need volunteers. On May 13th, we will be hosting a New Year's Eve kickoff. Okay? And we don't do things small. Okay? It's at the Old Sloop Coffee House. Excuse me. 5:30 to 7:30. Open house format. You get to learn about all different kinds of volunteer activities that you like to do. Maybe you don't want to volunteer that night. Okay? Maybe you just want to experience it. But if you want to volunteer along the way, we need people that are interested in video, technology, social media promotions, selling buttons, you name it. So we have all different committees now. Let me just tell you something. This Rockport New Year's Eve started in 1997. 1997. We unfortunately had to take a couple of harrowing years off with COVID, but we're back and going strong. So that's how long. Now, if you have been to a Rockport New Year's Eve celebration and you were there in 1997, you'll know how many changes we have made. It doesn't happen without input. It doesn't happen without hands-on. So we're also working on welcoming people to the event, including guests from out of town. It's amazing. Some people rent hotel rooms, Airbnbs. We want everyone to come. We also need a lot of the Rockport community to help us. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more video that will give you some more insight onto what happens. Now remember, May 13th, okay? 5:30 to 7:30. Food. Congo Church. Okay, sorry.
Beautiful.
So, in a lot of these slides, photos, you have seen people sitting down like this. However, we have site managers or venue managers at each location. So, if all of a sudden you can feel like people want to dance, we just clear chairs away and everybody can get up and dance. So it depends on the music, the location, if you want to sit, if you want to get up and shake a few, you do that. So we're very, very flexible. Now, does anybody that has been to Rockport New Year's Eve have an idea about what we should add? No, we cover it all. I forgot to mention the food trucks. We have some very nice food trucks, and we work well with the local restaurants to make sure they stay open. They are aware of the event, and people can go there to dine as well. From our viewpoint, it's an alcohol-free event, but the restaurants that do serve alcohol as a general thing, okay? But, you know, it's not the crazy New Year's Eve celebrations that I experienced when I was 20 or 21. It's very family-oriented and welcoming. Nobody's going to get lost. You know, it's all right here. Who could ask for anything more? Celebrate the arts every New Year's Eve. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Coriel. I'm the Director of Development at Rockport Music. I'm actually filling in for a colleague today, Elizabeth Steffen, who's our Director of Education and Community Partnerships. She was very sorry that she can't be here today, but I am here to introduce Manchester's own Jeff Connolly from Chopped Guitars. Jeff is a singer, songwriter, and creator of very unique guitars. I won't steal his thunder by telling you what a chopped guitar is. I'll let him tell you about that. But he did a marvelous workshop for us back in January for the local community. It was filled with both youth and adults. It was wildly successful and oversold. We had people calling us and telling us they wanted to come even after it was oversold. So it was a great program. It was made possible by a generous grant from the Rockport LCC. We're very grateful to them. And if you don't know it already, Rockport Music does an awful lot of education and programs into the community. We do a series of free and low-cost concerts. We're in not only the Rockport and Gloucester school system, but we're in a lot of other school systems now, including Beverly, Manchester, Ipswich, and we just started doing programs in Lawrence. So we are doing a lot for Rockport and for the larger Cape Ann, and we hope you'll come and check out one of our free or community concerts or buy tickets. Our summer schedule is out, so please take a look and come check us out. Jeff.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much. I was over at the Chamberlain back in January, and we did a guitar building workshop. It was super fun. We had a bunch of kids there. There were a bunch of adults there. My experience in doing workshops was mainly for kids for years. I used to tour playing music full time back in my earlier 20s after college, and we did these shows called edutainment shows where we would go play a show at night, but earlier in the day, the community would invite us to go to like a Boys and Girls Club or an after-school program and talk about homemade instruments and homemade drums and how you could do it at home for very little money yourself. So I hadn't done that sort of thing in almost 20 years. I have my own children now, and it was hard to get out of the house for a while, as you can imagine. So I decided recently, last fall, I had reached out to Elizabeth, and I said, you know, I really want to do these edutainment events again. I haven't done them in years. And she said, this sounds great, let's do it. And I was able to come back out for the first time in 20 years to do a workshop again. This is now the second one, and hopefully we can keep doing it. So thank you again for having me. Quick backstory, why am I here in the first place? Why do I make these guitars? I I had been collecting guitars since I was about 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old. My mom played guitar. She was a folk singer, songwriter, all the way through college. And she gave me my first guitar, a 1980 Alvarez, when I was born in 1980. And I still have it. It's in my bedroom right now. And I started playing at about age 9. And I became obsessed with not only playing guitar and singing, songwriting, but also guitars, the instrument. For me, a guitar was vintage Americana. It was like a motorcycle, or like an old car. I can't think of anyone who says, "Oh, I don't like guitars." Who would? That's like saying I don't like music. It just doesn't make sense. So I started collecting them, and I collected many guitars all the way through college. I had probably close to about 40 guitars when I was 21 years old, and this collection was absolutely terrible. It was I amassed the worst guitars you could possibly find on the internet. If I had $30, I would buy a guitar on Craigslist. If I had $20 from mowing the lawn when I was a kid, I would buy a guitar that I found at or go to a yard sale and pick it up. None of them were nice. I think maybe one of them, of the 40. After college, I decided to make a concerted effort to be a professional musician, to play full time. And it worked out pretty well for a while. I was a lot of ups and downs in the industry, as you can imagine. Days when I thought it would happen, and days when I thought it definitely would not happen. Whatever that means, happen. So I decided it was time to get rid of all of those guitars. There's no use for them. I can't play them. Most of them don't even stay in tune. And it was time to get serious. And I decided to collect whatever few dollars I got from each guitar and buy 2 of my favorite guitars. And they were a 1960 Gibson ES-125, which is sort of an old jazz-style hollow body guitar, with the F-bowls in it. And the other was a Gibson LGO from the 60s, which is a smaller acoustic guitar, both made by Gibson. Very expensive for me at the time, a 21-year-old starving artist. But I was able to collect enough money through the sales of those 40 guitars to buy these 2. At a show in 2008, I was playing and finished. I went to load out my equipment to the car, brought my guitars to the car, went back in to get my amp, went back out to the car, the guitars were gone. So my collection of 40 guitars quickly turned to 0 guitars.
Oh my God.
And I was playing full time in that year. In 2008, I was playing 5 or 6 shows a week, and touring as well, traveling around the country. And a friend of mine said, "You got to keep going. You can't get upset. You have a show tomorrow. What are you going to do?" I didn't have enough money to go to Guitar Center and buy a guitar at the time. So I grabbed my mom's guitar, the 1980, and I played that show. I canceled 2 shows after that because I had to travel, and I didn't want to bring my 1980 Alvarez that my mom gave me with me. So I canceled 2 shows, and I decided I was going to try to figure out this box of parts that I had laying around at home. I had amassed a box of guitar parts over the years, and I started putting parts and pieces together to see if I could make one. And it took a lot longer than 2 weeks, so I missed a couple of shows. The guitar, to my surprise, worked. It stayed in tune for one song of one show. And I spent the rest of the evening apologizing to the crowd because I was trying to tune it the rest of the night. But I said, this is possible. I could probably do this. And I started reading a lot. This was before YouTube. So I started reading books, real books. You remember those? The ones that a technical book on guitar building. Flip through it every night, chapter by chapter, and learn things that I had no idea about when it came to guitars and why they actually do stay in tune or should stay in tune. A guitar is one giant math problem, and it has to be extremely precise. If it's off by a millimeter here or there, it will never work. So that was the trick. That was the hard part to learn, and it's taken me almost 20 years to really figure that out. In the last 20 years of building, I think I've really only understood it completely in the last few years. So 17 years of making a whole lot of mistakes and failing, and a lot of guitars got thrown in the trash. And I think during COVID specifically, I was able to really sit in my workshop and figure it out. I used to make about one guitar a year. During COVID, I made about 7. And I'm up to about 45 guitars now. And I think finally, after all these years, I started to get it. In addition to the guitar building, where I really started doing was playing with these things called piezos. Does anyone know what a piezo is? Are you familiar, sort of? A piezo is the Latin is to touch. It means simply to touch. So an electric guitar, or any kind of guitar that's electrified, are usually electrified in two different ways. One is called a magnetic pickup. It's magnets that simply cause an electromagnetic field, and it converts to sound. These guitars have magnetic pickups in them, and these magnets create a magnetic field with the metal and the strings, so the space between them causes that signal to turn into music. The other way a guitar is electrified is called a piezo, and it simply means to touch. And I have piezos in here as well. There's one that's buried in here and you can't see it. And when I learned about piezos, I got super excited because they are super fun to play with. I was teaching guitar lessons for a while, and I would teach the little kids about piezos, and they got excited about them. One funny story where I taught a kid guitar lessons for years, and I brought him some piezos, and I told him, you can put these things anywhere and plug them in and you can make sound. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you can literally put them anywhere. And I got a call about a week later from his mom, and she started, I didn't know she was joking at the time, but she was sounding very upset. I said, what's wrong? Oh my gosh, what did I do? She said, you taught him how to make piezo drums? Really? I said, yeah, why? She said, his entire bedroom is wired up to be a drum set now. I said, what do you mean? She said, he put him all over his bed, his bedposts, his chairs, his desk, and he runs around the room banging on them, and they're amplified.
Oh.
So we did a workshop this past year over at the Manchester Elementary School where we made drums. And we made them out of cereal boxes and milk cartons.
Wow.
And I'll just demo one of these really quickly for you. So I brought the kids these piezos. There's one inside the milk carton. They cost about $1. So you can buy them on eBay. You can buy 100 pack of them. They're $1 each. And these little jacks come with them. So extremely inexpensive, cheap way. If you're a teacher, if you do this in schools with kids, you can actually bring this to the school band, to the marching band. You can create these drums. And the way that they sound, you touch them anywhere you want. Certain places are louder than others. So you can imagine these kids in marching band. And every kid in the school, or every kid in the band could have one of these. Obviously you need an amplification unit to make it sound loud, but it's a very simple way to have fun making these. And again, it costs about $1. I've been using these for years, and I make my own at home, and I like to use hockey pucks. We always have a big bag of hockey pucks laying around. My son plays hockey. And I cut them in half, and I put a piezo inside, very simply. And if you step on them while you're playing music, you can imagine the opportunity there. So those are what I got really excited. I made a ton of these when I was younger. Funny story, I made one. I was at a music festival in 2007, and the headliner was Bela Fleck. And he was touring with his trio, which is Bela Fleck, Edgar Meyer, very famous bass player, and Zakir Hussain, who's probably the world's most famous percussionist. Zakir, they call him the Bruce Springsteen of India. So I was fortunate enough I got to walk into his trailer and say hi very quickly. And I handed him one of these drums. And I said, you have it. If you ever use it, that's great. If you don't use it, that's fine. That was the last I heard from them. And about 7 years later, I got a phone call, and it was Zakir Hussein's manager, and he said, "Hey, you made this drum for Zakir 7 years ago. It broke. Can we send it to you, and can you fix it? He uses it every night." I said, "What do you mean he uses it every night? That's crazy." She said, "Yeah, he never had that really thick bass drum sound that he's always been looking for. So he puts it next to him and he touches it with his finger."
Wow.
And I happened to be living in San Francisco at the time. He was in San Francisco. We met up. I fixed the drum for him, and we became good friends. And he, every time he's local, we go see him. My wife sees him and get lunch and stuff like that. He's a very, very cool guy. He was on the soundtrack to the movie Apocalypse Now, so he's got quite a resume there. But anyway, so these drums are super easy to make. They're a lot of fun to make, and that's sort of got the juices flowing when it came to building instruments. And that morphed into having no guitars and deciding to build one. So this is one that I play pretty much at every show, and this is sort of, I like to call it a newer model, because I was in a situation where I was traveling a lot, playing shows, and being a non-famous musician, I would find myself in situations where I would get to these events, these shows, and I never knew what was going to be there. Sometimes you're playing in a beautiful theater, and there was a sound system, and there was a full audience, and sometimes they would stick me in front of a Coke machine in a cafeteria. That literally happened. People would say, "Excuse me, I'm trying to get a Coke, can you get out of my..." But I'd have nights when I had an amazing sound system, and nights when I had no sound system, nights when I had an acoustic setup, nights when they said, "Sorry, we only have an amplifier for you." And I said, "This isn't working. I can't get on an airplane with 3 different guitars or 4 different guitars." So my friend said, "Why don't you make a Swiss Army knife?" And he is a guitar builder. He builds for a company called Zayat in upstate New York. He makes Dave Matthews guitars, and he makes Keller Williams guitars. And he said, we started building Swiss Army knives. I said, "What is a Swiss Army knife?" I mean, I know what a Swiss Army knife is, but he said, "It's a guitar that works in any situation." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You have electric guitar pickups, you have acoustic guitar pickups, and it works in both ways." So I started making Swiss Army knives, and that's what this is.
Wow.
And the way that this works, this is an acoustic guitar. It sounds like a pretty typical acoustic guitar. So there's a piezo inside this bridge, and this guy named Mark Brenner, he makes these bridges. He mills them by hand at home. And it's called the Brenner Piezo Bridge. And I started buying them from him years ago because it's the only non-acoustic, acoustic mimicking sound I've ever heard. This is not an acoustic guitar. Acoustic guitars work with piezos and the relationship with the wood that they're made out of. This is made out of a 1950 clarinet case. And it's plywood. Plywood does not resonate very well. I have a lot of guitars made out of clarinet cases that are made out of cardboard. They don't resonate very well either. So I said, how do I get that acoustic sound, that really clean, crisp, beautiful acoustic sound without a $10,000 piece of wood? And Mark discovered the Brenner Bridge. So that is so the relationship with the sound right now is simply the touch, the piezo touch of the strings touching the electric element inside this piece. And it sounds almost identical to a Martin guitar or a Taylor guitar or a Gibson. Now the Swiss Army knife component of this guitar comes in the ability to switch it over to an electric guitar. We have this little switch here. And now this is a Fender Telecaster. Okay, switch it back. It's an acoustic guitar again. So I was was able to go to a show or a concert in any place, in any situation. And if they had an amplifier, I had my electric guitar. If they didn't have an amplifier, I had my acoustic guitar, all in one. And I was able to carry one guitar in an airplane. Quick story about that. I was going to a show in Texas, and I was in line, and I got immediately pulled out of line at security by a guy who was just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I said, "Who's this guy? He's not a police officer." Turns out he was a federal marshal dressed in plain clothes. And he pulled me into a private room, and he said, and he showed me the x-ray machine, and it was a suitcase with a bunch of wires and batteries and lights. And he said, what is this? You can't bring that on an airplane. He knew what it was. He knew it was a guitar. He was messing with me. I almost had a heart attack. But they pulled me out of line, and he said, you played guitar, and he wanted to hear it. He picked it up. He started playing it. I didn't think they were going to let me on the plane without it. And then this guitar is a newer one. This isn't the most recent one I built. Speaking of parents and grandparents and honoring them, my dad has been going through dementia and Parkinson's, and I wanted to just build a tribute guitar for my dad. So I actually, the antique shop, the Flying Dragon, is that down the road? I was able to find this here. I saw it and I couldn't believe it. It's a license plate tag, and it's my dad's birth year and birth date on it.
Wow.
The 1943, May 22nd. So I thought that was kind of nuts. So I made him, it's a little tribute. And while I was there, I needed a back for the guitar. And I found an old root beer crate. And that's the back of the guitar. So, but this one is a strictly electric guitar. It's a very, very simple build. There's not much to this at all. This is the 1960 Silvertone neck. They used to be sold at Sears and Roebuck. I love these guitars. These old Silvertones are my favorite. Just the feel of them, they feel natural, they feel old. And those guitars were actually built out of particle board.
Wow.
So this is sort of my vintage tribute to like a Nashville sound. Very low, very bassy, very thick, very deep, and very loud. So that's that guitar. Does anyone have any questions? I don't want to just speak the whole time. I was hoping so. Yeah.
What are you doing New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
I have no plans right now. Yeah. We usually do the countdown with my kids at 7:30 on YouTube, or it's at 8 o'clock on YouTube.
Oh, we have a great kids program from 4 to 6.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah, no, thank you. We will chat about it. Anyway, I build now. I build at home. I have a workshop at home. It's called Chalk Guitars. Chalk Guitars on the World Wide Web. I used to have this idea that I wanted to create a guitar business and sell guitars and do that full time. About 2 years ago, I sold a guitar to a client, and we went through the whole thing, what he wanted, and we got through the whole build. And then at the very end, he said, "So what's the warranty?" And I said, I don't want to own a guitar business. It's not something I want to do. I said, the warranty is that I'll fix it whenever you need it to be fixed, period. But it kind of got me thinking, that question made me I could see myself not loving it. After getting that question, what's the warranty? Do you have a return policy? So I don't build, I don't sell them anymore. And I will sell them if someone calls and we talk about it, we work through it together and we do the build together. But I don't hold inventory. I don't have a shop online. It's just, I'm building for me. I build for friends. If anyone really wanted one, we could work it out. But I decided I don't want to do a business. Shipping was a nightmare. Packaging these up and sending them to various places became a nightmare. So I decided not to do that. So it's just for fun now. I absolutely love doing it. Sometimes it's an emotional roller coaster for me. I will build a guitar, and then I will take 6 months off and not go anywhere near the shop, and then I'll have a craving to get back in the shop and make another one. So I'm working on a new one right now. Someone, I go on the guitar forums online a lot, which are a dangerous place. There's some traditionalists who probably don't like the idea of messing with old guitars. I know there's a lot of traditionalists with motorcycles. Don't ever, it's a Harley or it's nothing, that kind of thing. And they said there's no way those can sound good. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, you're not using this wood. Only this wood sounds good. So the build that I'm currently working on is going to be made out of pallet wood. Reclaimed pallets from the BC building company down the street. And I've made a bet with myself to make it sound like a perfect acoustic guitar. So that's the plan. And then hopefully I can play a little video and send it to that guy. Does anyone have any more questions? Yes.
When you play out, what is the name of your act, your band, your solo?
Sure. I was in a band in Boston for many years. It was called Tin Can Telly, as in Tin Can Telephone. After that, I decided to play solo. I'm a big convenience person. It was much more convenient to play solo. And it was just my name, Jeff Conley, for years. And very, very recently, actually, because of the Shaylin Liu show, this is why I changed it. A lot of people were confused about why I was playing shows under the name Chopped Guitars. Said, I don't get it. Are you building guitars on stage or are you playing a concert on stage? So I called my old bandmate from college, who I played with full time for about 5 years. And I said, do you mind if I bring back our old bandmate? So when I play live, I can use the name Me and This Kid. We were a duo. And people would always say, who's me and who's this kid? And it didn't matter on the night. So I brought, because of the Shaylin Liu show, I brought back the name Me and This Kid. So it's meandthiskid.com. I'm not playing as a duo, but it's me and this kid that used to want to do this all the time. So
Thank you, Jeff.
you're welcome. Yes.
Well, you are so inspiring, and thank you for all your work with young people. I mean, I think the idea of creating this milk carton drum is so fantastic because a lot of kids who are low income don't have access. You know, so I'm curious, are you still doing like kind of workshops with kids now, or?
I mean, I'd love to. The last workshop I did was at the Shaylin Liu. I did the Manchester Parks and Rec Department. We talked about doing a 7-week drum building class. We're supposed to possibly doing that before this school year's over. Actually, there's only about 6-7 weeks left. But yeah, I mean, these, again, I'd love to do that. And I could easily teach you how to do it. These piezo elements, I purchased these on eBay. I got 100 of them for $100. And that's it. And then I encouraged all the kids to bring in Cheetos boxes and cereal Cheerios and milk cartons. And we actually spent, and it took us about an hour. I had the kids, I made the holes first for them with like a hole puncher. And then the kids were able to take the nut and the screw off, and they were able to put them in themselves wherever they wanted. And they thought that was so cool. And I pre-wired them at home with a soldering iron. So it took me, 30 minutes, and I wired them all up. They were able to make them themselves, tape them down on the inside, and then I brought my amplifier. The kids all plugged in, and they all got a chance to bang out.
Really cool.
So if it's something that I remember at the workshop, there was a gentleman, I think he was a band leader over at one of the schools or middle school, and he said they were having trouble with budget for instruments, especially drum sets and things like that. And he said this would solve a huge problem.
Really cool.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Oh, regarding weight,
Yeah.
I know that some Gibson guitars are incredibly heavy.
Yes.
The solid body ones.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yes.
How does the weight compare with these rigs?
This one is fairly heavy. And by the way, you're welcome to come up and pick these up and take a peek closer if you'd like. This is a fairly heavy guitar. This I had a piece of mahogany at home, so the interior structure is built from mahogany, which is very heavy, heavy wood to begin with. So this guitar is quite heavy. This guitar is incredibly light. There's not barely anything inside of it.
Yeah.
So you can feel the difference. But yeah, I have nights when I'm playing that. I just played a show recently. It was a 3-hour show, and I literally had to soak my shoulder the next day because I was sore.
Yeah. So I know you have another question, but you do have time to do one song, unless the question goes long.
No, it's okay.
It's not a good question, it's you.
I was going to ask if your favorite school song.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
That's a different
I
category.
can get you a microphone.
Are you playing? Are you playing as well?
I'm not playing, no.
Oh.
I'm doing sound support.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say someone else is welcome to play the guitar. Yeah, no, that's okay. Thank you. That was too convenient.
Yes, and
I have a feeling this sort of thing might happen.
Sure.
oh, one last question.
Sure.
Are they staying in tune better?
Yes. Yes. I solved for that during COVID.
Excellent.
Yeah, they. A lot of the building process for me was learning how to do it better the next time, which is the case for probably learning anything, right? How do you fix your own mistakes? And the build process, it was really about the neck and the relationship and the. These are very flexible. They're old clarinet cases. So when they're finished being built and the strings are tightened, they have to be a certain measurement. So how do you measure it first if when you tighten the strings they go like this? So that it was solving for that. It was sort of compensating in advance and saying, it's going to be a little smaller when I'm done, so I got to make it a little bigger. And over the years, it was how much bigger? And then it was getting a precise number.
Wow.
It was, I got to make it 3 millimeters longer than I'm supposed to because I know it'll shrink 3 millimeters. And it just took 17 years to figure that out. So, yeah. Let's see. Well, this might be a perfect song. Except that I don't have a capo, and I don't know if I remember how to play it without a capo. I don't know if I'll be able to play that because it's too many changes. I can't make the change in my head.
It remains the perfect song.
You know what? There might be a capo in that case right there. Anyway, this song, This song is, I wrote the song about the stolen Gibson guitars. Sorry. And if there's not, I will just deal with it. Oh, perfect. Look at that. There we go. Thank you. Wow. A lot of people think this song's about a girl, but it's not. She's got me wrapped around her little finger. She calls me up in the middle of the night. She asks me out to dinner. She tears me down. She wears me out. She's a ball and chain I cannot live without. Girl, you're crazy, crazy as hell. She
said, yeah, but I know your boy better than you know yourself. She tears me down, she wears me out. She's a ball and chain I cannot live without. She knows I'm addicted for life. I got black ink running through my veins. This guitar for my wife. Girl, you're crazy, crazy as hell. She said, yeah, but I know your boy better than you know yourself. She never pays my bills. My rent was always late. Sometimes she's catching keepers, other times it's fishing bait. But I know you hear me. You know what I say. You know I'd never even trade this in for my brand new Chevrolet. Girl, you're crazy, crazy as hell. She said, yeah, but I know your boy better than you know yourself. She said, yeah, but I know your boy better than you know yourself.
Forgot a verse in the middle there somewhere. That's all right. Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it very much. I'm Jeff. If you want to chat, or you can go to chopguitars.com. The website is a collage of old guitars and pictures and all the builds and stuff like that. So, thank you.